If I had an overall goal to this, it would be to help people understand those who go looking for things like this usually won't find it. It's not always a fun or exciting experience. Most of the time, what's out there beyond us isn't positive. The people that don't believe in this stuff, I get it. I wouldn't believe in it either if I were them, hadn't seen it, felt it, stayed up all night, literally tortured by it. Those who don't believe, sometimes it's better that way. If I was given the option to change having an ability or what happened to me, I literally would in a heartbeat. Being interested and educated is one thing, but dabbling in things you don't understand, well, you'll find out why that's not a good idea.
Well, let's begin then. So, I guess it's best we start from the beginning.
My name is Allie. I'm 24 years old. I'm a mother, a wife, and I work full-time running my own business. I grew up in a small town in central Illinois, and I've lived in the area my entire life. Population of about 15,000 people. Average working class area. So, if you want to know what Illinois is like, just imagine a cornfield or a hill, and you've pretty much seen what central Illinois looks like. It was a nice place to grow up. The schools were good, people were alright, it's quiet, not much happens around here. I was born about 15 minutes away from where I grew up in a larger city just across the river. My parents had me at a younger age, just like when I had my daughter. My mom was 23 and my dad was 27 when I was born. I'm actually raising my daughter right down the street from where I lived as a small child. It's nice to take her around and show her all the places I went to as a child, taking her to the park that I loved. All of my family is close by too, and my husband's family, so that's nice. Oh, and I love animals. Seals are my favorite.
So it sounds like you're a normal person, just like all of us. So it's crazy to think that all of this can happen to anyone. So where and how exactly did this all start?
Well, the best way to talk about it is to go all the way back to the beginning. It's the endless loop of bad luck and misfortune, and I don't mean just like bad days or hard times. I mean like deaths, like violent deaths, illness, poverty, and demonic encounters too.
So everyone in your family has seen the demon or felt something like it?
Every single person.
So what happened at this house, Allie?
I'm gonna talk about things I've never told anyone, things that people don't want to talk about because it's too much, and I'm tired of hearing it. I know damn well it was too much because I went through it, but I refuse to be afraid of it anymore. The town I grew up in and live in now is not where this house is. It's about 13 miles from where I live right now. The day we moved in, we should have left. The first day we lived there, 3 people came up to our door and told us, God sent us to pray for you and all you're about to go through. My parents don't really think anything of it. It's a really Christian area around here. People do stuff like that all the time. My mom asked what church they were from and they didn't tell us. She told me after they walked away, she didn't see them go anywhere. No car, nothing. They literally just disappeared. And my grandma saw that as well as my aunt because she was there too. We had people come up to our house that literally ran away screaming. A guy that came to take me on my first date literally passed out in the driveway. He turned white as snow, literally fell over. When he got up and came to, he ran to his car, sped off. Only a few people were able to deal with everything there. and those people all experienced something that still bothers them today. The paranormal team that came to our home a few years before we moved told us whatever was there wasn't leaving because it wanted me and it wanted my family. They left shortly after that.
So why do you think that it wanted you?
I don't. I think it just wanted me to be afraid, or maybe it does. Either way, I refuse to let it run my life again like it did for so long.
Do you think it's because of your ability? Like, when did it start for you?
My parents told me I was 3. My great-grandpa, I call him Pappy, was bringing me home from his house. We were coming up the hill to the town we lived in, and I told him that I could see his parents in a car behind us. Mind you, I'm in a car seat facing forward, so I wouldn't be able to see what was behind me. And there was no car behind us. I described exactly what they looked like. They passed away a long time before I was even born. And the funny thing is, I'd never seen a photo of them either. I said, Pappy, I see your parents in an old fancy car behind us. And he said, what? Well, what do they look like? I was 3 and described exactly what his parents looked like without seeing a picture, like I said before. He turned pale. He didn't believe in this stuff, at least so I thought. My mom told me to when I was 6 months old. I would scream and look into the same corner in my room every night for a few years. She had no idea why. But I was terrified of whomever it was or whatever I was seeing. My parents made sure over and over again I didn't have a mental illness or anything of the sort, and I don't. I truly wish that's all this was, a delusion, take a pill and wipe it all away, but it's not that easy. My mom told me as a young child people would come up to her in public and to me and act like they were hypnotized by me, beg my mom to let them touch me or hold my hand. She said that people did it every time we left the house. It almost became impossible to go anywhere. People still do that to me now. People say that I draw them in. I don't know if that's good or creepy or whatever, but it happens.
So people just come to you then? Tell you everything, or...?
Yeah, and I don't know why. I'm not like a super people-y person or talkative. I've always been like a wallflower, keep to myself, mind my own.
Well, I guess if you're not talking, you're listening. Maybe that's it?
No, it's more than that. People literally tell me shit they've never told a soul. Or they tell me they've dreamt about me or something told them to come to me. It kind of creeps me out. It's nice that people trust me. I appreciate that. But sometimes I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm not Dr. Phil.
So, would you really give away your ability if you could?
No question. I'd do it right now if I could. I help a lot of people and I love that part. But there's too much bad that comes with all of this.
So does anyone else in your family have abilities?
Yes. My mother, her grandmother, my pappy, my grandfather, and my sisters. There's others too, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to mention them.
So did it start with a particular person or family?
Yes, Pappy's family.
Well, I think we would all love to hear about him. From what you've told me already, he does sound like a great guy.
He was the best. My pappy was born in the early 1930s on February 1st. He was the most honest person in the entire world. Lying for him, that just didn't happen. He was one of the people that was almost too honest. He grew up around the time of the Depression. People didn't have a lot of money, food, anything. He had a hard childhood. He had 5 brothers and 3 sisters. He always used to tell me the story about how he was born with teeth. And it's funny because my youngest sister was born with all of her teeth too. He said it was because he was ready to eat. He was the 4th child out of 8. He was really close to his mom, but not so much his dad. He used to tell me his dad was gone all the time trying to make what little money he could for them. He said that the soles of their shoes would get so worn out that he could feel the ground through his shoes when he walked. When he got older, he was really picky about his shoes because of it. He had the same pair of shoes for his entire life. He would literally stretch them out with a wooden shoehorn if they got too small because he refused to buy another pair. His mom and dad got into it a lot. His dad drank and drank to drown out the pain of everything going on. His mom was a hardcore Christian that I believed battled with having an ability she didn't understand or didn't want to. They didn't talk about those kinds of things then. It was a no-no. It was taboo. He told me the first weird thing that happened to him was when he was 6. He had a wiener dog named Daisy. It was his best friend. In their home, it had a small staircase that went up into a long attic. The dog wouldn't go up the stairs. It would do anything to get away, so it wouldn't have to go up the stairs. He said that he would hear footsteps up there, and his brothers and sisters told him it was the ghost of his grandfather. One of his brothers forced the dog to go upstairs, and she got so scared that she jumped off the balcony and died. He said a few days later, he went up there and he saw his grandfather standing with a blanket around him, holding a cane that he banged on the ground 3 times. He told me he ran back downstairs, scared for his life. He told me he didn't tell his brothers because they'd give him a hard time about it. A few years later, he fell out of a pickup truck and cracked his head open. They told him he should have died. He said, "I knew then I was cursed," and he'd laugh. In his teenage years, he was a tough guy. Nobody messed with him. He worked on cars. He was a real lady killer, from what he told me. He met my great-grandmother when she drove by with her current boyfriend and a few other girls in the back seat. He looked at my great-grandma and said, "Are you going with me or not?" And she laughed and said, "Well, where are you taking me?" And that was it. They were married for 60-something years. They were 17 and 19 when they met. He was a plumber for 30 years. He was in the army too for a brief period of time. He never told me the real story as to why he got out, but he always said, "I was too scary for them. They couldn't handle your Pappy." As he got older, and after I was born, we were best friends. He didn't really like kids, except for me and my mom and my sisters. He was afraid to hold me when I was born because he didn't want to drop me. A lot of my childhood memories were spent with him. We did everything together. He made me my own little puppet shows, and I had this electronic dog he got for me because he didn't want to get me a real dog. We watched Wizard of Oz over and over again, and he would pretend to be the Scarecrow and I was Dorothy. He never sang much, but every day he sang "You Are My Sunshine" to me, and I miss him so much.
Where's that choo-choo train? Holler at the choo-choo train. Holler at him.
Runner, get the rabbit!
Okay.
Where's the squirrel? Get him, the squirrel!
Stick him on. Bite him.
Bite him!
Some of the other weird things that happened started with his sister. It was his youngest sister. She was born in one of the coldest winters. She was born sick, and that's what he always told me. She battled the illness for 3 days. She had a really high fever, and she passed away at home in her mom's arms. They took her to the funeral home, and a few hours later, she literally came back to life. They ran back to get her, and a few hours later again, she died and then came back to life. It happened 3 times. After the last time, they kept her at home for a few days to make sure she had really passed.
Wait, so she died 3 times and then came back to life?
Yes, he said to me all the time, "I don't tell a story if it's not the truth." When my pappy was in his 40s, he said his mom started to be really different. She would see demons. She told everyone they wanted to kill her. They won't stop until they take her. She actually ended up being admitted into a mental institution because of it.
So was it a mental illness?
No, I wish it would have been, honestly. He told me that he went to see her once, and she was a tiny little old lady. She picked up 3 grown men and threw them across the room. Drugs wouldn't stop her. He said she was talking gibberish and he had to leave, and that's the last time I've heard about her. I know eventually she was moved to a nursing home before she passed away. I couldn't get him to tell me much more about it.
Wow.
But wait, there's more. My great-grandmother, Pappy's wife, never saw anything, but she wanted to. She researched all of this for years, tried over and over again to see anything she could. She went to mediums, psychics, had every book, movie, TV show, all of it. She was really educated but never saw anything. She told me as a child she grew up similar to how Pappy did. Her youngest brother and his friend were playing a game on a railroad track. It was this game where you push each other back and forth, and whoever was left lost. They were playing and the train started coming, so they started doing it faster and faster. Her brother was getting scared, and before he could jump off, he got hit by the train. He was completely cut in half. She said her mom sat there with him until they could move him to the hospital. He died the next morning without having a bottom half of his body. She always said that her family didn't feel pain. It just didn't happen.
At all?
Yeah, and I don't feel much pain either, and neither does my mom.
So, did your Pappy ever see anything else when you were growing up?
Not until after my great-grandma died. We tried to say that it was grieving, but it was more than that. He didn't have dementia either, like I said. He didn't lie, ever. He told us after she died that he could see 3 little orange guys. They looked like trolls, he said. One was large, one was medium, and one was small. He said they would only come out at night around 1 a.m. and told him to turn on pornography. I thought he was joking, but he was dead serious. He told us he could still see her, my great-grandma, like she was alive after she passed away. He could see her in the bed, asleep. He would yell at her to get up and she wouldn't. One time, he said, she told me she met this guy named Joey. I think she's messing around on me. And I said, what? Come on, you can't be serious. And he said, I am serious. I put a for rent sign on her side of the bed, and he literally did. He also told me my great-grandma came to see him in the middle of the night from a spaceship, the first time he ever saw her after she died.
Wait, so he saw 3 little trolls. What do you think that was?
I mean, think about it, the 3. They aren't human-sized, and they always come to make him do things he shouldn't. I always thought maybe they were demons. I mean, he was a super intelligent man, and there's no way he made any of this up at all.
So did you tell him that?
He wouldn't listen to me. He said, well, they haven't hurt me or anything. I got my baseball bat. They won't hurt me. I try to hit them, and my hand goes right through them. And that was one of the last times I talked to him before he died. He used to tell me every day that when he died, he would do whatever he could to get rid of the curse on our family.
A curse?
Yeah, that's what he said it was. He said, I'll kick that spook's ass, beat him with my baseball bat, in his words.
And did things change when he passed?
It did, until recently.
So do you think doing this series is part of getting rid of this?
Remember when you asked me what my goal is? That's it. That's my real goal.
So what about your mum's family?
Well, that would all have to start with a farmhouse in Shadowman.
Coming up next on 3.
Ever since we started filming this, all this crazy stuff keeps happening. My mom just texted me and told me that my dad's truck caught on fire.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't even feel things like she does, and something just isn't right.
Do you think it's because of what we just filmed?
Something doesn't want us to do this.